Good evening. And again, thank you for joining us for the Lafourche Alliance for Good Government's City of Thibodaux Political Forum with candidates for City Council District C and Mayor. We will now continue with our forum as we hear from candidates for City of Thibodaux Mayor. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes to introduce themselves, followed by a series of questions where each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. Candidates will be allowed a 1-minute closing statement once all questions have been answered. Tonight's forum has an official timekeeper that will alert candidates of their time with a series of lights. As a candidate's time begins, the light will turn green. When 15 seconds remain, the light will turn yellow. And when a candidate's time has expired, the light will turn red. We ask all candidates to be conscious and respectful of the lights. Our forum is also being live streamed on the Lafourche Alliance for Good Government's Facebook page, which can be accessed at facebook.com/Lafourche Alliance, or by searching Lafourche Alliance for Good Government in the Facebook search bar. We are working to improve the audio. We hope that it is better this second go round. The live stream is for access only. Questions or comments posted on the live stream chat feed will not be addressed. This is to help inform our community of our candidates, and we invite you to share the live stream with your own network and friends. We will now hear from our candidates for City of Thibodaux Mayor, Mr. Kevin Clement and Mrs. Sandy Holloway. We'll begin with our 2-minute introductions. Mr. Clement.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the Lafourche Alliance for Good Government for organizing this forum, Nicholls State for allowing us to use their facility, and for all of you that are here with us tonight. I am Kevin Clement. I was born, raised, and educated in Thibodaux, as was my wife Becky and all our 4 children. All 6 of us have graduated from Nicholls State University, and we are proud to be a Colonel family. My love for this city didn't start when I decided to run for mayor. It's a love that has been building since childhood. I've also had a vested interest in Thibodaux as we are raising our grandchildren here. I have over 12 years of experience from the inside of city government as a department director. I have served as a leader in daily operations as well as during emergency events in all facets of city government. My vision and goals are realistic and experience-driven from a true public servant's perspective. Based on my lifetime and those governmental experiences, I have developed a value-based comprehensive plan that will be used as a blueprint for success. It is built upon a vision, mission, and set of core values for each department. I have over 40 years history of service and involvement in our community. My professional life experiences at McDermott, my 15 years at Thibodaux Regional Health Systems, and within all of the programs in the city of Thibodaux gives me a unique perspective into our great city. I think back to all the families I have been blessed to meet in this process. These people have helped define not only who I am today, but who I will be tomorrow.
Thank you. Mrs. Holloway.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. As a wife to Skip, mom to 3 children, grandmother to 8, it was with much prayer and consultation with my family and friends that I decided to run for mayor. This calling just felt right. My roots in Thibodaux run deep, from my great-great-grandfather living here and leaving for a better quality of life, to Skip and I choosing Thibodaux to call home 46 years ago due to an incredible opportunity, which was a job he had, and because we knew Thibodaux would be a great place to start and raise a family. With an education degree from ULL and an advanced degree in administration and supervision from Nicholls State, my resume, qualifications, and 30-plus years of experience in leadership, getting the job done speaks for itself. I am the proven leader, prepared to step into the mayor's office, ready to lead on day one. From leading and overseeing budgets as large as hundreds of millions of dollars to building and launching organizations and businesses from scratch, like BCA and Lala, a local Early Learning Center. I know what it means to set a vision, a plan, and get results. I am not a government bureaucrat interested in maintaining the status quo. In fact, I have served as an elected leader who has stood strong and independently in the face of politics and the establishment. I know a brighter future is possible where crime is lower, residents feel safer, and city services are viewed as excellent in all corners of our city. We are at a crossroad, and you get to decide who is most experienced and best prepared to lead and execute positive change in Thibodaux. The choice is yours.
Thank you, Mrs.
What
Holloway.
I know is that I am not. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our questions. Our first question with the 1 minute response time will be for Mrs. Holloway. What are the top 3 challenges facing our community, and how do you propose to address them?
As I've walked the city for the last 3 months, and we're on our second round, we've knocked doors, talked with citizens, and heard the voices of what citizens felt were major issues in our city. And the top issue that we felt across all quadrants was crime. Then it was drainage and infrastructure, and of course, for change and innovation. And when we look at crime and what can we do for this, is that it's important that we bring all stakeholders together to be a voice in our law enforcement area. And of course, it works with the chief of police having a qualified and credible city police that can lead with a task force to bring all stakeholders, diverse groups.
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Mr. Clement.
I stated before our top 3 are in this order: safety, infrastructure, and quality of life. And by that I mean recreation. Safety goes hand in hand with the police department and crime. You asked earlier to our councilman, is crime a problem in our city? And I'll say one incident of crime is a problem in our city. So I intend to work with the police department and resolve those issues. Infrastructure, the constraints of a budget, just maintaining our infrastructure are challenging enough, but there are items that we need to do. We need to keep our streets safe. We need to have our ditches swept in case there's rains, stuff like that. You know, I understand the infrastructure works, and I do realize there's a problem. And then of course recreation, the quality of life. You need to bring programs for young adults to keep them off the streets, to keep the crime at a minimum.
Thank you. Next question. What are your plans to keep a pulse on community and business needs? Mr. Clement.
So I have been with the city for 12 years now. When I took over our recreation department, for one example, we had a baseball program that had 550 kids. We had 50 teams, and we had 25 sponsors. Over the last 12 years, we've steadily increased those numbers, minus the COVID years, of course. And this year, we've had 1,155 kids playing baseball. That resulted in 115 baseball teams, but we had 140 sponsorships. Okay, so that to me tells me that the community has bought into the work that we have put in. They respect the work, and they trust the job that we do. So, I intend to take that same philosophies from the recreation department into the city administration.
Mrs. Holloway.
The way you keep pulse on the city from businesses is that you want to have a mayor that will create an advisory council that will bring in all stakeholders with a diverse group from all areas of the city, that we can have these deep conversations about what's important for our city and have these assessments taking place. But with businesses, that you can be a part of that particular advisory council, that you can bring in your concerns with our advisory council, but also having a business liaison that can be amongst our small and business leaders to talk about what are the issues, what are the major issues that we can discuss and bring to our city government to solve our problems and make our city a vibrant city.
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Transparency in government is vital to public trust. How do you plan to keep the public informed? Mrs. Holloway.
To keep the public informed through transparency is that I foresee that we need a professional dashboard that is part of our technology system within the city. And this professional dashboard creates our growth. It creates also the transparency of what projects are being handled within the city, and that you can go onto this dashboard and monitor whether it's infrastructure, whether it's drainage, utilities, even parks and recs, or whatever it may be, that there are projects going on, and you can monitor these particular projects from the beginning of the baseline and to the goal. And it also indicates that whatever the project may be, you can see the benchmarks and where that particular timeline begins and ends to be able to monitor what we have.
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Mr. Clement?
So in my 12 years as city director, I've always had an open door policy. I've had many of people walk straight into my office and discuss issues, concerns that they've had. I think that's value, and I think that's holding yourself accountable. All of my department heads will be accessible. All of my department heads will have transparency and have an open door policy. That's just a philosophy of how I live my life, and I think that's how it should be. Getting the word out, you can use tools as such as social media to get words out as far as PSAs and stuff that we do with the city. But that's never been an issue for me. I've always had an open door policy, and I think communication is the key to people and to everybody in the administration.
Thank you. Do you believe the current structure of city departments require any changes, and why? Mr. Clement.
Yeah, I think so. It's not major changes, but working with the people that we've worked with for the past 12 years, I think a city planner is in need. I think that person can come into our public works department and see the big picture, and I think that adds value, and that keeps things from just putting out brush fires, and you have a long range goal rather than just a short term win. So other things like putting the Holloway Auditorium Director under recreation just makes sense to me. So little things like that. I don't think it's a huge problem because the structure has worked for a number of years with our city, but minor tweaks and changes sometimes always good.
Thank you. Mrs. Holloway.
Yes, upon entering the office as mayor, it's very important that there's an assessment that is done to note who are the department heads, what are their responsibilities, and is there a way that some of these departments can be consolidated or eliminated. And it all depends on, of course, the finances of what you would like to do. And when you think about the department heads, there's about 10, and could the emergency preparedness fall underneath another particular type of department, like let's say the chief of police, because of the emergencies that occur, and can they work together? And it is vitally important in this transition team that we take all comments coming through with a quality of life survey about what is it that our city is in need of and our residents are wanting.
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway.
Thank you.
Thibodaux has a comprehensive zoning ordinance. Are there any changes that are needed? Mrs. Holloway.
As far as the comprehensive ordinance, in walking the city and hearing residences speak about their locations and does commercial interfere with their particular residents? It's something that our committee, our adjustment committee would need to look at, zoning committee would need to look at to see if there are any types of differentiations that we may feel that may be of concern. And we definitely want to look at the land that we have and note that we have commercial, industrial residences that don't interfere with our residences. And at this point, I believe that the committee has done their work, has done their job, and you have to rely on the committee that is knowledgeable about what's going on.
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Mr. Clement.
So residential needs to stay residential. Commercial needs to stay commercial. I was involved in a situation just recently where they changed and altered the residence for a person, individual business, but they did it using common sense, right? That zoning board does work, and they're there for a reason. They are knowledgeable, they're experts at it. So I certainly can advise, a mayor can advise, but the zoning board makes its own mind up. So I think we follow the rules and regulations that the law provides, and we adhere to the structure that's there.
Thank you. You have both highlighted infrastructure in your campaign materials. Outside of projects already planned, what are your goals and objectives? Mr. Clement.
So infrastructure is an ever-changing environment. And we all know about the roundabouts that are coming at North Acadia and Percy Brown, and the roundabout coming at Jackson Street and Canal Boulevard, and of course, our Canal Street Bridge. I think those are gonna encompass at least the next 4 years. So as far as any huge projects now on the docket, I do not have any, but I think my attention needs to be solely focused on the Canal Street Bridge. I mean, that project has been in planning for 6 years now. That project is gonna cost over $8 million. To date, we have $5.8 million guaranteed in P1 and P5 money from the state. And we're gonna petition to get the rest of those funds. So I think the attention needs to plan for those 3 major projects, and I don't have anything in the future.
Thank you. Mrs. Holloway.
Yes, it's vitally important to have a master plan that can help us look at what does our city look like in 5 years, 10, 15, 20, and even 25. And at this moment, what we know is that we have traffic congestion. We know we got to tackle the Canal Bridge, and there's issues with Tiger Drive Bridge. However, with this master plan, it gives us an outlook of what we should be preparing for. This master plan tells us that in 5 years, can we subside all this traffic congestion from the Percy Brown Road to Canal to 3185 with building another way from that particular area across town. Also, this master plan will not only help us with our congested area, but it also helps us to look at the future with not only the roundabouts, but our partial loops,
Holloway.
hurricane, etc.
Thank you. What are your thoughts on the allotments within the current city budget? Mrs. Holloway.
My outlook on the current budget is that we do receive sales tax and property tax, and we have to build upon that, because you're receiving out of $40 million, approximately, let's say 20 million from that of the sales and property tax, and the remainder is coming from the enterprise of the service and goods that we provide for our citizens. And for us to build upon this city, we must look at more of our businesses and bringing people in, whether it's tourism and marketing, and to help relieve the expenditures of our city. Because at this point, and I know that there are some utility questions out there where prices have gone up on your utility bill, but what we know here is that there's a consumer index price that's given because
Thank you, Mrs.
of.
Holloway. Mr. Clement?
So when we took office, our budget was $33 million. This year, our budget is slated to be $46.7 million. With debt services, it's gonna be over $52 million. That's a huge increase, right? So for the last 12 years, I've sat in every department's budget meeting with the mayor and with each department head. I know how this budget works. I think the allotment is fair. It's dependent and based on the perception of the mayor and the city council. They have input too. So yeah, I'm familiar with the budget. I think the allotment is fair. And I think the mayor has the right to dedicate more funds to one department than the other. But as long as you use good common sense, and as long as the city council approves it, the budget is allotted fair.
Thank you. Our next question, where do opportunities lie for economic development? Mr. Clement.
Economic development is always that catchword, right, for the city. I don't see an interstate running through the city of Thibodaux anytime soon, but I do think that we can develop our downtown area more. We've already partnered with Nickel State to have a bike path that goes from Nickel State to downtown, where Ms. Constance Johnson alluded to. We're gonna tie in Canal Street to Tiger Drive. I think that's important. Presently, I'm working with Nickel State. We just built a bridge that connects Nickel State and Pelche Park and another avenue, so people can have more connectivity within the park and Nickel State. So economic development is always key to the city, and downtown Thibodaux does a great job promoting its downtown areas, and I think that's our future, downtown and moving toward North Canal.
Thank you. Mrs. Holloway.
Economic development is a process for the quality of life and standard of living. And what we know about economic development is in twofold. You have your hard infrastructure and your soft infrastructure. And for us to have a vibrant downtown economic growing of businesses, we need to focus on our infrastructure, making our roads, streets, sidewalks better. And also, as mentioned, the interstate, and hopefully one day within that master plan that there will be an interstate that our businesses can come in easily to our city. But the other is the soft infrastructure, where we should be able to manage having effective police service and fire department service, and also quality of schools, which bring in better businesses into our community, and have a vibrant downtown.
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Our next question, should the city limits of Thibodaux be expanded? Mrs. Holloway.
There has been much conversation about the city limits of Thibodaux being expanded, and yes, I would like to have a discussion with that, with our residences, because it does bring in more sales, vibrancy, but again, there has to be town hall meetings, conversations, deep discussions about what our citizens want. And for us to have the extension or bring in other different subdivisions or areas of land, people need to want that. And it's based on the vote of the people to have their particular area annexed into the city.
Thank you. Mr. Clement.
So annexation is nothing new to the city of Thibodaux. They've tried for years to have conversations with the country club to see if they want to be annexed or not. Ms. Holloway is correct. The people of each subdivision do have to have a voice in that. But you can't just start annexing pieces of property in subdivisions without doing research, right? You have to have formal studies. You take in and inherit a subdivision that has bad water lines or problems with sewer, then all of a sudden you've incurred debt at an alarming rate. So I'm not opposed to annexation, but I definitely think the experts need to study each particular individual scenario, and then we make a decision there.
Thank you. Where do opportunities exist to enhance the partnerships with Fletcher Technical Community College and Nickel State University? Mr. Clement.
I think the partnerships with Nichols is vitally important, and you can lump Fletcher in because Fletcher has played a major role in the development of the technology for students and the programs that they offer. They offer a wide range of programs that aren't necessarily for students that can come to a major Division I university. I have a great relationship with the administration here at Nichols State. I'm personal friends with the president and most of the administration. I think that partnership and that communication is already there. I do not know Fletcher as much as I would like to, but if elected mayor, I certainly will enhance that relationship. And I think it just benefits more, right? Nichols is the heartbeat of our city. I think people realize that. And without Nichols, this city, it'll take a step back. So I intend to keep programs like we have and the communication there with the Nichols and Fletcher.
Thank you. Mrs. Holloway.
Yes, there's always been a good relationship with Nichols and Fletcher. As an educator, we've had these partnerships. And what's important here is the workforce development that Fletcher has with high schools as well as Nichols, from dual enrollment and the industrial-based credentials. And the benefit of the partnership, leveraging that, is that we can hire individuals coming out of Fletcher or Nichols into our community and our city. And we need to look beyond that because we have the incubator that's coming into town and from Nichols. And of course, the bike path will give that an easy way in to our city. And when we talk about the opportunities for our own children, and this is what I'm committed to do, to work with families, to bring in industry.
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Next question. What are your plans to attract and retain the younger population here so our community continues to thrive? Mrs. Holloway.
What I'm planning to do is, the innovation piece is most important to me, especially with our young people. The digital world is here. And when we look at what has happened in the last couple of years, the digital world has become more intense, more important to our young people and also for our workforce. And can we build a digital hub here in the city? And I know the digital hub can't interfere with the historical district and site. And that would be something that would entice our young people, and also for job opportunity, that we can bring in these young people with, say, the incubator or whichever that we have out there for our young people, because most of our young people are also working from home. And is there something that we can do within the city to help motivate and entice our...
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Mr. Clement.
Personally, I think we're already doing it. For the past 12 years, we've developed programs specifically for young people. We have over 35 programs in our recreation department. 18 of them are designed for adolescents between the ages of 6 and 18. We've completely changed the culture of that recreation program, and I think the citizens of Thibodaux realize that. I'm extremely proud of some of those programs. We have rec programs for all ages, but let's face it, while we do have line dancing and senior citizens events and baby and me classes, our focus is on the young adolescents. So I think they see the quality of life, and I think they see the changes that we do in our programs. I mean, just recently we've had a haunted house the past 2 nights. We had over 600 people come through our recreation office for haunted house, and most of them are young folks.
Thank you. Main streets are considered the heart of the city. What are your plans to enhance downtown? Mr. Clement.
So, I guess I'm known for my crazy ideas. I developed that Christmas lights program in the park, which has taken off beyond our wildest dreams. I don't understand why we can't have those lights on the bayou side, from Jackson Street Bridge to Canal Street Bridge. I don't understand why we can't light up Main Street all the way down with old Christmas lights that flow from building to building like we did when I was young. it's not a stretch to connect Harang Auditorium and the reservoir with the walking bridge over Bayou Lafourche and over Highway 308 straight to downtown. Those projects are easy. Those are easy wins for me. I'm not saying I have the funds right now to go do that, but certainly that adds to our downtown area. If we connect big box with downtown, it's just a natural fit.
Thank you. Mrs. Holloway.
Yes, when you're looking at revitalizing, bringing in Main Street as something that all residents would look at, or even our tourism, is let's look and imagine from, say, Thibodauxville to the Christmas parade, that we can have activities during the weekends, whether it's to bring in local bands or church choirs, and activities within those particular weekends from Thibodauxville to the Christmas parade. And also coming from Mardi Gras to have, people have talked about a family gras at the park to into Easter, having different activities that would draw our residents here and tourism here to enjoy the city. And we have so much to offer, incredible attributes that our city has to offer, along with the
Thank you, Mrs.
boardwalk
Holloway.
with restaurants. Yeah.
Do you believe there is a crime problem in the city? And what, if anything, do you plan to change? Mrs. Holloway.
Yes, I do believe there is a crime problem. The crime problem has increased in the last few years, and what we need to focus on is community problems need community solutions. And it's very important that we put the petty politics aside and do a work within the city to create a task force that will come together with diverse individuals from our community, from faith-based leaders, school leaders, and business, whether it's small or large, within our community, to come together and have really tough, hard discussions about what does our city look like within the whole community that can reduce crime. And along with that, to have a data analysis system that can track crime, traffic issues that we can look at to be able to focus
Thank you, Mrs.
on.
Holloway. Mr. Clement.
Crime is an issue in our city. One incident of crime is an issue in our city. So I also agree that, you know, we give over $1.2 million to the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office for crime prevention, for its police department. I think we need to partner with them more. I think we need to have drug task force. I have already had good conversations with our police chief and its administration about maybe just trying to rejuvenate ourselves a little bit when it comes to how the police interact with the city. I think the days of riding through neighborhoods with the windows up need to change. I think the police need to be out and about with its citizens, and I think when you do that, the citizens have buy-in, they respect the police more, and I think those things are very attainable.
Thank you. Are there any social or racial injustices that need to be addressed within the city? Mr. Clement.
Yeah, I can't think of any particular incidents. All I can do is relate to what I see in this administration, and we have been fair when it came to racial injustices or racial diversity in general. I think that I have over 23 people that work for me. 12 are African Americans, 13 are not, or 11 are not. I don't treat anybody any different. The history that I have with the African American community, or women in general, or people of age, or young people, it's pretty static and it's pretty consistent. I have racial inequities or diversity in my own family, and I'm very proud of that. I don't treat them as African Americans. They're my daughters, and they're my nieces, and I treat them as my daughters. So we certainly are aware of those problems.
Thank you. Mrs. Holloway.
I want to say yes, there are pockets of those situations, And what's important is that people want unity, people want a voice, and how do we bring people together to talk about those hard issues and talk about how do we manage, especially in the crime area, to bring people together to speak at the table about if they feel there is an injustice or there's not equalization amongst whether it's the workforce or within the departments that we have. And even within our own community of bringing people together, whether it's within our sports, our work, and that we can come and join together to make our community a better place to live for our children and for your children.
Thank you. Are the residents within the city receiving the benefits that are assessed by Lafourche Parish taxing authorities? For example, law enforcement and recreation. Mrs. Holloway.
I want to say that people within the city would like to see more activities within the recreational department, and the dream of having a state-of-the-art facility is something that they desire. However, it does take financial needs there. And do they appreciate what's being offered to them? Yes. Do they want more? Yes. But what happens here is that we need more sales tax to be able to find avenues to be able to bring more activities. And instead of people leaving and going out every weekend to another city, it's important that we have some development here, an action plan, a master plan for our rec department to see what the future holds for what we can offer our residences. And,
thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Mr. Clement.
So first, let me state I'm opposed to any new tax that comes this way. I'm too conservative of a leader to just boldly say I want a new tax to get more money. I don't think that's appropriate. I do believe that the city of Thibodaux gets its right share when it comes to parishes, parish tax and school board tax, and it's all how you budget it and how you allocate it. Can we always tweak and learn from past experiences? Of course, but the parish does give our villages. Since the new parish president, Archie Chasson, has taken over, our money comes in on time. I can't say that about the old administration for the parish, but it does come in on time. And I'm talking strictly with recreation. So yeah, I agree, and I am happy with the way we receive our allocations.
Thank you. Where do you stand on the recently announced March 2023 Lafourche tax proposal as it affects the city of Thibodaux? Mr. Clement.
So, you're talking about for the teachers? Is that?
The 2023 tax proposal.
Okay, so I'm not opposed to that. My wife was an educator for 24 years. I do know that teachers are grossly underpaid and underappreciated. So I would support that. And you know, if the money is needed to better our schools, to better our young children, I'm in favor of it.
Mrs. Holloway.
This would be a contradiction of not wanting taxes, but this is a tax. As a professional educator, and look, there's no other honorable role as a teacher to be in a classroom with students. Do educators deserve a salary increase? Yes. Would this particular proposal be the right idea? I can't commit to that today. I know that the Lafourche Parish government and the Lafourche Parish School Board will have to do a lot of work to speak with the residents of the city, because it calls for an increase in tax for the residents of the city of Thibodaux. And they need to be well versed and educated to make an informed decision of whether this particular increase in tax is beneficial.
Thank you. Our next question is there a question you would like to ask your opponent? Mrs. Holloway.
Okay, let's see. That's, I think I would ask Mr. Clement about the Parks and Recs. I know that a lot has been done, turfing is going on, but the question is, why wouldn't there have been plans in the past to see a vision of what would take place in the future? Can you explain that? Are you okay with that, Kevin? I'm thinking
I have
about
to respond to that?
Yes, please.
So we did have a vision, and we did have a plan, and we proposed a tax increase, and it failed. We weren't happy about that, but it failed. But if you go back and look at that vision and you look at that plan, 12 years later, we've accomplished 90% of what we set out to do, and we did it without a new tax. We've turfed fields, we've added programs, so maybe that was a blessing in disguise, because we did everything we said we were going to do and what we wanted to do, and it didn't cost the taxpayers any more money.
Thank you. Mr. Clement, is there a question you'd like to ask your opponent?
No. I decided a long time ago that I was focused on what I could do to make myself better and to put myself in a position to be mayor and to be the best possible candidate that I could be. 3 years ago, when Becky and I sat down and had these heartfelt discussions, we realized there's no sense worrying about the things we are not in control of. And whether there was one person running against me or 10 people running against me and what their demographics were, it was inconsequential, right? I wanted to focus on being the best person I can be and be positive and do the best job that I can do for the citizens.
There's no question posed, but Ms. Holloway, would you like to respond? You are given 1 minute.
No, sir. Got it. Thank you.
So let's set the tone. You are now 6 months into your term. What do you hope to have accomplished? Mr. Claiborne.
I hope to maintain the infrastructure of the city. I mean, that's as big a challenge as we're going to face here. Keep the roads clear, keep the dishes swept, maintain physical responsibilities with our budget and with our audit. That happens every year. So if we can keep our head above water for the first 6 months and then let my creative juices and my philosophies take over with all the department heads, I think we'll be very successful.
Mrs. Holloway.
It's very important when you start as mayor, first day, that you set up a transition team that can look and assess what the city is all about. So that's one. Also, to look at developing a master plan with an agency, whether it's South Central or whoever it may be, that to look at what does this city look like today? What will it look like 5 years from now, 10, 15, and 20 years from now? And along with a master plan within those, how many days you indicated, a quality of life survey to know what your voice is. What do you think our city is? And where should we be going with the opportunities and barriers? And also, important to work with the council, to have an open communication and partnership with the council and have that vision for what our city should look like.
Thank you. We'll now move on to closing remarks, and each candidate will be given 1 minute. Mrs. Holloway.
Thank you, Lafourche Alliance for Good Government and Nichols College of Business for putting on this forum. You, the citizens of Thibodaux, have an important decision to make. Will you choose to stay the same or forge a brighter future with positive change on November 8th? As a current elected leader with 30 years of a track record of getting things done, I know I am the proven leader, most prepared to drive positive change for Thibodaux's future. I know what hard work looks like, and I have the grit, determination, and know-how to leverage our assets to create a safer, stronger Thibodaux that offers pathways to prosperity for all its citizens. On November 8th, the choice is yours. More of the same or a safer, stronger future. I humbly ask for your vote and partnership. And if elected mayor, I will work hard to make you proud and call our city, Thibodaux, home.
Thank you. Mr. Clement.
As I've said before, my vision is to provide the best quality of life while keeping our small town sense of community. Our goal is to provide affordable, high-quality municipal services to the citizens of Thibodaux while ensuring their safety. I will establish my leadership philosophy of the mayor's administration and the nature of how we will govern. All of my department directors will be transparent, approachable, and will communicate with one another. We will be successful together. For me, it's a personal journey, and I feel I've earned this opportunity. It's not about the job, it's about the job, not about the title. As we make our way through the next 14 days of our campaign, I ask for your prayers and support, and I humbly ask for your vote so that we can move our city forward together. Thank you, may God bless you, and may God bless the city of Thibodaux.
Thank you both for participating in this Lafourche Alliance for Good Government Forum. Also, thank you to Metro Business for serving as our host. Remember, early voting begins tomorrow, October 25th through November 1st, and Election Day is November 8th. And you can find a recording of tonight's forum on the Lafourche Alliance for Good Government's Facebook page. Thank you all for attending. Drive safe and have a great night.